Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Brianna.
And I'm Demaya.
And this is She Thinks She Knows podcast. So everyone, today we have another guest. Nioka Thomas is with us today. So if you guys don't know, Nioka Thomas, we all went to high school together. Mm-hmm. And from the time I knew her, she always talked about how when she got out of high school, she was gone. She was going back to New York. She was about to do her thing in media and everything like that. And she pretty much laid out her goals from the jump. And fast forward to 4 or 5 years later, however much time it's been. It's been a long time. It's been 4 years, right? Fast forward 4 years, she's doing exactly what she said she was gonna do. So we got her on here. It's been some time. We were supposed to get you on here a while ago, but we got her on here now. So now, Nioka, if you want to introduce yourself, you can.
Hi guys, my name is Nioka Thomas. I'm currently a senior at Hunter College in New York.
Okay. So tell us, let's have a little catch up because it's been some time. So what's been going on with you? How's life? How's everything?
Life has been, it's been going. It's been panicky, especially like coming to graduation. Like I'm about to graduate college next year. So I've been like really panicking about what's next. Even though I'm in the field of my degree, it's still like panicky because then there's no more excuses like, oh, I gotta go to school. Oh, I don't know this. I'm still in school. It's just like, yeah, I'll say panicky.
Okay, panicky. I feel like, honestly, I can relate sort of because like, if you guys don't know, I took a gap year. Like I'm taking a gap year. And I felt like for me, I was so like nervous about what the future of my life was going to be because like while again I was doing the stuff in my major, I just didn't feel prepared to just be like thrown into the real world. And like with everything that was happening, I was like, you know what, maybe I should take time off and kind of like live the regular life, like post graduation, like live it now and get a feel for it and set myself up before I really finish school. And honestly, I feel like it was a good decision for me because like if I were in school right now, I would have I would literally be lost. Like I would have no sights of what's next. I wouldn't be prepared. I'm not even prepared for like 9 to 5. So like, I feel like this time it's like, okay, let me just get things in order, take a breather. And, you know, like when you finish school, like that's it. Like there's no safety net after that. And I feel like I realize now that school is like somewhat of a controlled environment. So it gives you a little bit more peace of mind because for the most part, you know what you're doing. Like you're getting your classes, you're getting your degrees, you're getting your internships or whatever jobs that you're getting. But once that's all over, it's like, now find a real job. Now, you know, like teach yourself, do all these things yourself. So I definitely get
Brianna,
that.
I know you have a Jamaican background. Like what was that like telling your parents you're going to be taking a gap year?
Honestly, you know, that's a good question because I feel like even though like I come from a Jamaican family, like my parents aren't as like traditional, I guess. So for example, like when I was trying to make the decision, I kept like bringing it up to my dad. But in the beginning, he's like, what are you really taking time off? Or like, you know, like he kept pressuring me with those questions like, okay, but like, what is it that you don't like? And I was like telling him like, I just feel like I don't want to keep putting my money into something if I'm not getting the full experience. And so like, I think like it took a little bit of like convincing, like keep talking to him about it and seeing what it is that he couldn't really understand about the decision. So finally, when I just told him like, I'm not doing online classes and I don't want to go back to campus. So until I can figure out like a commute situation and get myself like mentally prepared. Because at that time, like my mental health just wasn't good. And so I was like, if like I need to get my mental health on track, like I need to see a therapist. I need to like, you know, figure out some things like get a license, stuff like that. So when I go back to school, I can be a little more independent and I won't have to really be like stuck there and all that stuff. So I think like after that and like telling him like I'm still going to be doing things with my major because like at the time I was doing an internship in the summer and I've made good amount of connections. So if I wanted to keep doing things, you know, related to my major, it's not like a bad thing. And, you know, he's into like housing and stuff now. So I even like butted it up that way. I was like, I can help you like with your business. And so after a while he was like, okay. And my mom, she's like, you know, she's just one of those people who's like, if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Like, she
Right.
wasn't so like, she wasn't really trying to control the decision at all. It was more so like, if you feel like your mental health isn't good, like you clearly need the time off. And I feel like this year, especially, was just a lot for everyone. So I don't think it was a shocker that I took time off of school. So yeah. What about you though?
That's
Why
so true.
were you considering taking time off? Is that why you asked?
Yeah, I would like literally in my sophomore year of college, my professor hooked me up with this internship. And through that internship, I was able to get on this music video set and connecting with people there and talking with them. They're like, where the fuck did you go to college? Oh, could I swear? I just swear.
You're fine.
They're like, why are you in college? Like, you don't need college to do this. So I was thinking about, I'm like, yeah, why did I go to college? Well, because the high school I went to kind of pressured me to do it. So that's the reasons. And it's like, damn, I'm really wasting my money because my degree is useless. Like, literally, I'm working in the field already. Nobody asked me for my degree. So,
Wow.
and half the things I learned in college doesn't apply to me. It doesn't teach me nothing. Like, right now, I'm taking this film production class. And I don't want to sound like an ass, but I literally know more than the professor. Like, damn, this. But I'm like literally in the class and she's talking about this camera. And I'm like, I've worked with cameras that cost like 500K. Like, what is this that I'm working with? So it's kind of like, I don't even know how to explain it. But I'm happy that I did it because not a lot of, I come from like an immigrant background. So not a lot of my family went to college. So I guess that's kind of one of the reasons I did it, just to like show my siblings, hey, do it, I guess. I don't know, because in this century, like in this day and now, like a lot of people aren't going to college and they're making way more money than people actually went to college. So it's like, is college worth it?
It's true. Honestly, oh, go to Maya because I know.
I think that you raise a good point because like Brianna mentioned, and if you guys don't know, like obviously I'm taking a gap year too. Um and to be honest, like a gap, like I'm taking a gap. And I think that like that was a shocker for a lot of people. Like in my life, a lot of people that like know Brianna Mahar and I, like it was just a shocker. But you raised good points because our high school was college bound. And so like there was never any room to think about, okay, who can I be without this process? Who can I be, and how can I get into the field that I want to get into without going through the college process? And like you said, like you're already working in your field. And so if you decided, okay, like I have 2 years here, like I made these great connections and it's time for me to put this to rest, like instead of the majority of people understanding that, they'll be like, but why? Like, you know what I mean? And I think that it's just really interesting because the moment the three of us got to UMass, we're just like, this is a scam. Like, this is a scam, but we're gonna go through with it because one, we're already here. Like, I chose this path, quote unquote, and like, you know, people want me to do it, so I'm just gonna go through it, but it's a scam. So it's just interesting that you say that because I would have never known that. Like when I see you on social media and stuff, it looks like you're a good student, like you're into your studies and stuff like that. So that's just funny.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like honestly, you know what it was when you said that whole like we already got to college, so we thought like we're just gonna ride out this path. Like for me, it was mainly like I senior year, I was telling like I want to go to college. I want to do like I was talking myself big. Got there first semester, really hit me in the face, punched me, beat me up. And I was just like, I can't turn back now because it's been
Right.
too like it hasn't even been a year yet. Like if I go back after all that talk, like how do I look? So I was like, nah, I'm gonna go through it. Like my sister went through college, like it's fine. Like some things are gonna turn up once I start getting like more into what I want to do and personalizing my major and all that stuff. And I feel like differently from like what you're studying, like you're doing media and like you were saying, like a lot of people in this generation now, especially like they're doing that stuff, like no background college, no anything, and they're succeeding at it. where like something like in my, like with my field, like construction, like you can't step anywhere without some form of like, you have experience or you have a degree. Like, so unless, you know, I just teach myself and like start my own practice and all that stuff, which I mean, wouldn't be that bad, but anyway, but the point is like, I feel like that's like the one thing that keeps me thinking like, let me just finish just to have it, because, you know, with, if all else fails, like I'll still be able to do that. But there's also like me taking this time and us doing this podcast. It's like, I want to, like, I can do this. Like, you know what I mean? Like I, like a lot of the times we have these conversations where we see like this can happen. Like I can get this connection. We can get that connection. We already made such a great network. If I wanted to take this and create a career out of this, I can. Like, there's nothing stopping me. So when you have that on top of like, it's, you know, like it's a hard thing to kind of make a decision about. But moving on. So you mentioned a little bit about you already had a lot of experience in college. And so some of your classes kind of seemed like a bore, but like in terms of your college life overall, like how has that been, especially you going to school in New York? I know it's different from going to school in Mass.
Yeah, definitely. So the college experience for me is just like you said, a total scam. So basically, when I first went to college, I went to this private school in the middle of Manhattan, Marymount Manhattan College. And that's when I know it was a scam. The school was overpriced. It lacked so much things that should be helping the students. And I was just like, why am I here? So then I transferred, and that's when the pandemic happened. So I ended up at my new school starting online. And then I'm just like, why the freak am I doing this? Like, I'm just like pushing through, but the only purpose I'm seeing is like the finish line and me getting my degree, but like everything in between is like blurred lines. Like even right now, like I'm proud of y'all for taking like the gap year or whatever. That's something I should do, because like right now it's like everything that I'm being taught, I'm not retaining anything. The goal is to pass the class. It's not to learn anything. Like get the A and move on. That's literally what it is.
For A's, I'm striving for freaking B's or D's. Like,
no, but like
I'm striving for a P, a pass, like that.
They stopped doing that because the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
To go with the grade. It's just crazy. I'm literally going to class for the attendance, and I come home and teach myself, and that's it.
So I'm just a little confused, because I would think going to school in New York, like, but maybe it's because you transferred, but your first 2 years, what was like your social life like? Because at UMass, we thought, okay, D1 school, thousands of people, D1 athletes, all the stuff, a good time. However, I guess you could say we didn't take advantage of those opportunities properly. So what is social life like as a college student in New York?
I don't think like, I mean, I've made some college friends, but I don't think like, listen, I didn't really go to like clubs or dances. My main focus, like I said, like I have like really bad panic attacks about my future. So my main goal was like work, forget school, forget all these people. So I really just invested myself in like working in a sense, because even though I'm in the city, I was still a commuter. In my first 2 years, I lived with my aunt in Queens. Now I live on my own. but it's like, I don't think I had like the college experience, like what people think of when they think of a college experience, like partying, stuff like that. Like, yeah, go to party, but it had nothing to do with college. It just happened to be me living in the city. So as far as college, I don't like regret anything, because now I'm looking at, this ain't no shade. I've been blessed by God. Like me looking back at like everybody that had the experience at the college I go to, now they're like scrambling. I guess I'm scrambling too, but I kind of have that safety net of like having the connections, having work with people, and just knowing people. Like, yeah, if you look at my resume, you're not going to see student body council and all of that, but do these people care about it? No, they literally look at your resume, see if you have the experience, even internships. You think internships, you go there to learn stuff. They're looking at your resume, looking for experience. They want to hire cheap labor. And I said it. That's it.
I know, that's really true.
Yeah, so like, one, can you talk about your interest in getting into the media industry? Because like Brianna mentioned earlier, like I was telling them, like I remember in senior year, like I think she wanted to go to a school in Cali, like because she was like, I'm gonna be working in Hollywood. So what sparked your interest in media specifically?
So I've always been interested in media, like, cause I don't know if y'all know this, but I was actually born in Jamaica. I came here when I was 11. In Jamaica, there was this after school program. It was called like 4-H or whatever. I think y'all have it here. And
wait, you were in 4-H?
Yes.
Wow, I did 4-H since I was like 13.
But like, I don't know if it's the same thing, because like they had the show, and I remember acting in it. And then when I moved here, like I convinced my mom to enroll me in acting school. So I was doing that for a while. And then that just sparked, I ended up hating acting because it was just like cool industry. But then that's where my love for behind the scenes grew. And I just always know that this is always what I wanted to do, if that makes sense. Like I remember, I don't know if y'all remember the physics teacher name at Bertrand. Yeah. So I remember one day he was like, I think it was like the first day of class, he asked everybody what they wanted to be. And everybody was like, oh, I'm gonna be a lawyer, I'm gonna be a nurse, I'm gonna be a doctor. And I felt like not ashamed, but I was like, damn, I just want to do film. So I was like, oh, I want to do dermatologist. I do not want to do that. I just have a fascination with like pimples. And that's why I said it. Like I do not want to go to med school. I don't want to do all of that. I want to do film, but I didn't say that, but whatever. But yeah.
Okay. Well, that seems
pretty cool. Y'all question. I don't know if I was rambling. I do that sometimes.
No, that was an answer. Honestly, I feel like it's funny how you say that acting thing, because when I was in middle school at Renaissance, I remember I think it was like Mrs. Sullivan. She had the drama class, and I was always a shy person. So like I didn't ever imagine myself like being one of those people. And honestly, I'm still not, but in that class, we would do the monologue. She would always talk me up like, wow, you're like really good. Like you should think of doing the school play. And I was like, going to school play? Like, that's too much. But I remember I went for an audition, and then I did terrible because it was not working for me. But leading up to it, I was like mad confident just until I got to stage. So I remember we worked like backstage. I think it was me and Mahara. We did like set design. And I like fell in love. Like I literally was like, because I like artsy stuff, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And I remember there was one time, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but I think I was like texting you something, and you were like, I was like, oh, like that whole film stuff that you do was so cool. Like I always wanted to do set design. Oh, I think it was like a Snapchat questionnaire. And I was like, what's one of my dreams? And it was like creating a set. And I remember I was like, you were like, oh, I'm going to be in like, I'm gonna be making movies and stuff like that.
Oh, so I said I'm gonna hire you.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, hire me because I'm gonna make the set.
And that's on period.
It's just, but it's like funny because like you actually stuck with it, and like I'm over here podcasting now, so it's just like it's a different kind of like digital, like techno, I guess, technical stuff that I got more into. But it's just really cool because I feel like even the idea of you saying like, oh, when everyone's saying I want to be a lawyer, a nurse, and like I feel like media is like not one of those big fields. Like if you think about it, media takes over so much. Like influence in itself is all media. Like everything is media. Like doctors, lawyers, their way of getting their way around media. So like that field is huge. Like it's actually huge. So for you, like now people will see that as like, oh, like a content creator, a media, just like any of that stuff, like you can literally go anywhere with it.
Literally, most or some producers make more than doctors. So
yeah, like it's all about who you know, because you could be a doctor and if like nobody trusts you, okay, that's it, that's your career. But you're a media person, you know this person, you know that person, you've been doing it since you were in college, you're in New York, you like literally it's like a hot spot, you know, like you have all of the things lined up for you. So
it's like, and now you're coming on, she thinks she knows, and
right,
to be producing our show, okay?
literally, like, listen,
No,
okay.
I was gonna say, because I took a digital media class last fall, and the way digital media is constantly changing and adapting, like the regular person would never understand how complex it is. And
Right.
so one of the things I was gonna ask you, like working in the field, do you have a specific like area that you're passionate about, or like that you focus in on? Because there's social media, there's
Yeah.
TV production, there's movie, like which part do you like focus in on, and which part like do you see yourself like blossoming in?
So in the future, my end goal is I want to be like a producer, director, and an entertainment lawyer. Like right now, I'm studying for the LSATs, and I'm like, sometimes I think that I'm taking on too much, but that's just like the negative voice in your head that tells you, oh, you should just do one thing. Like, it's about to be 2022. No, but yeah, that's really what I want to focus on. Like, I want to own my own production studio. That's the reason I'm going to law school for entertainment law, because I'll be damned if a white man messes me over. I just want to like learn as much as I can, like in different aspects of production, so to protect myself in the end, you know.
Okay. She got a lot, not a lot on her plate, but a lot she's about to get done. We honestly, we got, let's see, what, 3-4 years from now, like this is gonna be a whole different, like,
oh
this
my god, no, I gotta come back
completely
and see
different, because it's already been like 4 years and so much has happened. Like, I can't even imagine what will happen in 4 more
like
years.
4 years seems like so long, but yet it's so short.
It's so fast, but a lot happens. Like, a lot happens in that time.
And I just want to say to all the high school teachers and counselors out there that keep telling y'all students they gonna miss high school. I don't know who missed high school, but it's not me.
It's not me.
It's not me.
Like, I don't even, what was high school? Like, I don't remember. So right now it's just life. Like, I remember all the stuff that I did to contribute to high school that created this person that I am now. But in terms of like, oh, you're gonna miss powwow, and you no, like.
I think that is just like, it's definitely a negative outlook on like growing as a person, because like Brianna just said, like, yeah, like the person I was in college, I'm in high school, contributed to the person I am now, and allowed me to, like, you know, set the foundation for, oh, like I can do this and that. But I'm in a whole totally different part of life. Why would I, like, I'm doing things differently. Why would I miss something that I've grown from? Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah, like, why would I miss someone asking me if I have a hall pass? Like, I don't. Why would I miss somebody telling me?
Oh
right, like, why would I miss somebody telling me when I have to go to lunch? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, but I wanted to touch base on like the pandemic, because I know we talked about it, kind of like we brought it up here and there, but I want to know specifically, how did COVID sort of affect the industry that you were in, and how did that shift or change your career goals, if it did at all?
So I just want to say God is on my side, because literally, like, when the pandemic happened, I actually got so lucky to find in this company called the Video Call Center. And basically what they do is, I don't know if you guys have seen like 90 Day Fiance, but they're the ones like in charge of the international or local video call, and they broadcast it to the show. So I got lucky enough to be working with them as an associate producer. That was all God. Hallelujah, God. So I mean, yeah, I couldn't be on set physically, but I was still like in this industry, but I was just remote. Hallelujah, God.
honestly, like, you are blessed, because like I think that with the pandemic, some opportunities were taken from people, but
Right.
people that still had the opportunity to work in their industry or like took advantage of all the Zooms and like all the different networking that was going on during the pandemic, I think like it's honestly leaving people in a better position than they may have been in, like if the pandemic didn't happen. Because even in the sport industry, like I've gotten connected with so many people just by like reaching out on LinkedIn and like
Exactly.
to all of these like Zoom like panels and stuff. And without the pandemic, none of that would have ever happened. So I'm just glad that you are on the positive side of that.
Yeah. Like you said, reaching out, because I literally reached out to I think one of the marketing directors of that company. And I reached out, I'm like, hey, I introduced myself, I sent over my resume, and it turns out that her husband was actually the main guy in charge of video production. So she sent my resume directly to him. Within a couple of like days, he reached out to me, and little do I know, I was there.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I can agree. I feel like in some ways, I say it all the time, but I feel like in some ways, COVID was like a blessing in disguise.
Literally.
Because it opened, for me, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. First off, like when COVID started and everyone was so freaked out, and I was just worried about how I was going to finish the semester and go back to school online because that's not what I signed up for. But
Exactly.
luckily, before the whole pandemic hit, I was able to make connections, and I had an internship that summer. And like it just being outside when everyone was kind of like indoors and trying to stay away and all that stuff, like it made me feel like, okay, like I need to get out there. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's things that aren't happening that can be happening. And if I just sit down in one place, like it's gonna fly by. And so I feel like if COVID wasn't happening, I probably would have been complacent, like with a lot of my life. And so like when you're forced to like adapt, it kind of gives you that boost of like, I'm gonna do more. And so I think that's like, even with our podcast, like Zoom was something that we just had to get with, because I think for the longest time, we were really not trying to do it. We were trying to find ways to meet up with each other. But literally since we got on Zoom, we were able to connect with people from different states. Like they didn't have to physically be here. And that gave us the motivation to go out and seek people, because now being in one spot was no longer a hindrance for us. It wasn't like stopping us from meeting people. We didn't have to be only local. We could reach out to people like you in New York, like no issue. And so like, and also like me kind of like having that time to sort of just view my life and like, what would life be if I didn't have these things to stand on? Like if I didn't have college to go to, if I didn't have this to do, like, what would I be doing? And I feel like it just kind of put me up to like a test. Like, what can you do with your own time now? And like, even taking time off of school, like once I realized that pandemic, like the pandemic school online just like messed me up. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Another test came, like, all right, you're out of school. Now what are you doing? Like, what's life going to be like for you? Because this is what it's going to be, you know, once you graduate. And so I definitely feel like COVID was good for me. Like, I don't know. I had a good COVID experience.
I mean, minus so many people dying.
Yeah, like
it helped me a lot. Like, to be honest, like if COVID wasn't here, I wouldn't have lived on my own. I wouldn't have gotten that job probably. I just like, I feel like I wouldn't be where I'm at. I'd probably just be too comfortable, like in that past position that I was in. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have made the step to get out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It does.
That was a lot of pandemic talk, and I think that that's a good time for us to take a break. So in this half, we got to know a little bit more about Nioka post high school and how her goals are coming into fruition. And when we come back, we're going to look more closely at what her internship looks like and so on and so forth. So we'll be back.
Okay, hi guys, we're back. She Thinks She Knows with Nioka Thomas. Before we talked about, you know, her interest in the media industry, some of the opportunities she's had, how school life has been being in New York. But coming back, we're gonna sort of dial it in to more of what she's been accomplishing with work and sort of how her day-to-day life is going and things like that. So my first question will be, can you give people some tips? You mentioned a lot of the opportunities you had, you know, before the pandemic happened, and how a lot of these opportunities sort of came at you. Can you give people tips on like how you were able to get these opportunities? Like, was it how you sent emails? What's the trick?
Yeah, I love to. Like, I used to use being shy, even though I wasn't shy, to avoid talking to people. I just don't like talking to people sometimes. Well, that was back then. Like, the main source of me finding my opportunities, believe it or not, Facebook. Facebook, there is a lot of groups for, there's groups for pretty much everything. Like, if you want to learn how to cook, there's a group for that. If you're into production, there's a group for that. Like, whatever you're into, there's a group on Facebook. So I advise you to join those groups, start making connections. And actually, I think it was my 90-day set. Well, actually, let me start from the beginning. So basically, my first time ever on set, I got it through a Facebook group. This producer just randomly posted it, and I was just like, I'm not doing that thing, might as well go. And it was actually unpaid. You feel me?
Wow.
That one was unpaid. Fast forward a year later, that same producer reached out to me to work on a documentary he's working on, and I got paid. So
okay,
scared to do unpaid work. Like, yes, it's not fair sometimes, but see it as like a learning and networking opportunity to like make your way up. And sooner or later, you're going to be getting paid good money to do the work that you were not being paid for.
So I think the people probably want to know at this point, opportunities. We keep talking about these opportunities. So give us the story of this opportunity. Good morning, America.
So basically, this is like one of the perks of going to school in New York. So I was taking this class, I think it was Introduction to Production, in which our professor would send us out on different sets where we're able to like connect with the producers and learn their day-to-day. So basically in that class, I think I did Good Morning America and Dr. Oz. I didn't have a good experience on one of those sets. I'm not going to say which one it was. It was Dr. Oz though, but but like being on that set was pretty much freshman year, Introduction to Production. You get to see basically what it was like to be a professional in that field. So I don't know if you guys watch Grey's Anatomy, when there's like, oh, you walk into a room, they're like, this is gonna make or break you. This is gonna make you decide if you want to stay or if you want to leave. So that was what that experience was basically. And even though I never had a good experience on the other show, I was still able to like take good from it, take notes, see like how they do stuff, how they talk to people, how they organize their files and stuff like that. So it was just like a big learning experience, which I really appreciate, and I wouldn't take it back for anything.
Okay.
So next opportunity, 90-Day Fiance. Where did that come in?
All right. So if any of you guys out there are really into production, like anything production wise, set design, managing, PR, anything like that, I advise you to download this app. It's called Staff Me Up, especially if you're in the cities like New York, Boston, LA, Atlanta, where professional people actually post production jobs where you could work on. I found 90 Day on there, and actually during my interview with that one, they really connected it to my other job, which was the video call center, because we normally work with 90 Day on there, but that's virtual. So I was able to connect those two, and I got the job, and I was really excited about that. That was like, I think like my first day working, like literally I called my mom before I walked down, like, Mommy, I'm about to throw up, I'm about to pass out. Like, I don't like literally I was so excited. Like, and working on set, they provide you with breakfast, lunch, or dinner if it goes that late. And they had a chef come in and he cooked the most scrumptious breakfast. I had a bite, I wanted to finish it, but I just felt like I was gonna throw up. Like literally, I was so nervous. I ended up regretting that, but amazing experience, amazing people. I was able to really connect with the production manager that was working on that set. And she invited me for another shooting, which is going to be happening soon. So if you see me being credited, if you watch 90 Day and you see my name, you know it's me. No.
Okay.
It's just awesome because when I think like we talk about like, okay, like we've been out of high school for 4 years and the time flies, but we don't really get to sit and talk with everybody that we were in high school with. So honestly, this is just so nice to see like, wow, like she's really making her dreams come true. Like, you know what I mean? During the break, you told us that you also do some freelance work.
Yeah.
Freelance. So what about that?
So freelance is basically you just I mean, like the definition is in the name itself. You're free to do whatever you want, work on different sets. So you could have like a main job and then freelance with different other companies. And I feel like that's what I'm doing also. Like, and most of my jobs come from like word of mouth and connections that I already made. Like my lovely friend, Elijah, which I worked with him on a documentary, he actually invited me to work on this commercial, which was also a really dope experience. I can't really talk about that because I signed an NDA, but that was such an amazing experience. And that experience invited me to be in this building. I forgot the name of it. Hold on, let me look it up because it's this is see. Penny, it's like WKNY.
WKNY.
Whatever. If y'all viewers know, y'all know. So basically, the commercial was in that building, and it's just like an office full of like different advertising companies. And in their office, they have like a bar, they have like a gym, they have a day room, a game room. And I was just like, damn, I want to work here someday. But then again, do I want to work in corporate? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to be in corporate. I just want to be like working for like a small company where my creativity isn't like put in a box. You know what I'm saying? Where I do what they say and have like no word and how, or able to share my ideas of how a project should go. I think I went off topic a little bit, but
I don't think so. I think that explained it really well. Honestly, especially in that kind of industry, like you thrive off of how well you're able to put your ideas out there. Exactly. And I feel like if you're in a place where they have like a formula, you're just gonna feel like you're falling in the conveyor belt of like everyone doing the same thing, and it kind of gets old and you lose your interest, and before you realize you're miserable. And I don't think that, I feel like with people who have like a artistic creativity, like that kind of mindset, they thrive off of change, like not being in one spot. And honestly, like relating that to, like we were just talking about it. What was the word you used, Amaya? Like nomad?
Be a nomad.
Yeah, like to have the ability to do what you want to do, but you can change your environment if you want to. So I feel like the idea of a freelance, like doing freelance media or just working in that field in general, it allows you to keep your mind fresh and keep yourself on your toes. You're always learning because everything is changing around you. And like, that sounds exciting to me. So I get it.
Yeah.
Today's day and age, it's like, you don't have to. So if you don't want to, like, make it like, that's the thing I'd be thinking about. Like, if I don't want to, make what you want to happen. Like, simple.
Mm-hmm. Period.
So with this, like you're working, you're doing freelance work, you're in school. What's the day-to-day life like? I mean, it must be full.
Yeah, it is full. To be honest, I don't know how I do it, because sometimes I'm able to take full-on naps in the middle of the day. I'm like, what am I doing? Do I have work? I don't know. I literally don't know how I do it. I think that it's because majority of the things I'm learning, it's like, I don't want to call myself out, but it's easy to look up, if that makes sense. I research. Literally none of this stuff applies to me, so I have no interest in, like, I guess, I mean, some of the stuff like I try to learn about, but like especially speaking about Zoom University, it's like I do not learn like that at all. Like, yeah, some of my classes are in person, but majority of them are online, and it's just that's just not the way I learn. So I basically teach myself everything. So it's like I go for attendance, teach myself everything, which kind of makes it manageable. And like, yeah, like now the professors are like more understanding. So there's like, well, I can speak for my school or my classes. There's never like a hard deadline on certain stuff. Like they're very understanding and like push an exam back if you're sick. So yeah.
Okay.
I just been really blessed. Like, to be honest, it's God. Like, I'm really riding on his back right now because I don't know how I'm doing it. Like, to be honest.
It's like that's Black excellence for you. You just get it done. Like, that's really it. And honestly, there was something that I seen about that where it's like, this is like kind of a little bit off topic, but it works. So there was this post that I was seeing where it's like Black people, they can't ever identify like if they're stressed or if they're depressed because like they view everything as just like I just have to get this done or like this is just a bump in the road. And so like when people like the kind of pressure that Black people are under but don't realize like and they're just doing these things and just moving forward, like other people just can't handle. And so like honestly I feel like a lot of the times where we're like it's God, it's like no, like it is, but it's really also like just Black excellence. Like to me that's my view on it because I know there's a lot of things like, especially for school, like there's times where I was shocked that I made it like through, like, and not like through like barely, I mean like good, like I was good. And it's just like, oh, like, okay, like you can actually do this kind of stuff because it's just like built into you, like that kind of discipline, that kind of like hard work ethic is just built into you from your ancestors. So paint us a picture. We're kind of closing in on like more present day, more future vibes. Where do you, who's Nyoka at her prime? What does that look like? Who's Nyoka when she's at the top, made it, doing her thing?
So I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm a powerful manifester / prayer. Like I have like a lot of people praying for me, like especially back in the islands. So I feel like a lot of things that I've said out loud, I speak things into existence, if that makes sense. Because I remember when I first came here and with my my middle school teachers, I would always tell them, oh, I'm gonna be rich and famous. You just watch. And I still feel that way. I even like tell people like whenever they take a picture of me, I'm like, you better save that picture so you can sell it later on. I'm just like, so me in my prime, like where I see myself where I'm like, okay, I'm at the top. All right, so on my own production studio, just creating like my own projects, like giving people around the world a voice where they don't think they have, and like broadcasting news that other countries ignore, I guess. But I just want to do everything in the video field, if that makes sense. Like, I don't have like a direct, oh, I want to focus on this, oh, I want to focus on that. I want to do features. I want to do reality. I want to do documentaries. I want to do, I don't know. At some point, I might stop listening to stuff, but that's what I see myself doing in my prime. Like, and it's like, the thing about me is what, like, whenever I have like too much, well, there's nothing like too much money, like for myself, like I feel like I always have to give back. So if I find that I put money in my savings, I paid this at that, I have extra cash, like I find it that I send my money to like my family in like Jamaica that needs it. So obviously when I'm at my prime, I definitely see myself giving back and like trying to help change lives, if that makes sense. I always, like, when I was young, I used to love Ellen, minus the fact that all the shits that's going down now, but the Ellen before, the red couch Ellen, yes, I used to love her, just like helping people and like how excited people would get. And I used to imagine myself on that couch, like both sides, like me being Ellen and then me being the person getting this stuff. So that's where I see myself in my prime, just like living my best life, like living the life that young Nioka always wanted and always says she's gonna get. Period.
That's so nice. You should I'm be a little humanitarian. I'll be balling a little bit, have a few businesses going. That's
Well,
really nice.
Say I'm gonna be honored that I could say Nioka was on our podcast.
Oh, period. Y'all about to blow up. I manifested. I'm sprinkling it.
I'm honored this girl came on our podcast. I went to high school with her.
Right. It's like, if you guys don't know.
It's like, I often forget, like, in the yearbook, I forgot that I was in it talking about, like, most likely to be internet famous. I'm like, what the fuck, internet? You mean world? World?
Wow. It's crazy. Sometimes I wish I got a yearbook just to see, like, what, like, like, to look back, but I didn't get one of those. So I guess I'll just have to make one up.
I only regret that I lost my middle school yearbook, because them was the days.
I'm sick. Not middle school.
Okay, so obviously, guys, like Nyoka, like she has things figured out. She's like got a formula, she's got a plan. And one of the things she mentioned earlier, and clearly she's in her bedroom right now, her own bedroom, living in New York. So before we wrap up, I just want to know like how you were able to do that and what tips you have for people that are in high school, leaving high school, in college, because it's really important that like, you're on our podcast doing something that people our age are not necessarily expected to do or to thrive at. So how are you setting yourself up on the financial side?
Okay. So I just want to, I know it's like horrible, but like the pandemic really helped me with this. So let's rewind a little bit. Like, we all know that if you don't have credit, you can't get anything. You can't get approved for an apartment, can't get a car, you can't get this and that. So credit is really important. So when I was in high school, we had a guidance counselor intern who would come to our crew and teach us about how to build and maintain credit. And one of the things he taught us that really stuck to me is like OH30. So it's like, it's like on-time payment. The H is like history with credit. And the 30 is like spending like 30% or less of your credit limit. And I got my first credit, I think my freshman year of college, I got my first credit card, and I really applied his teachings. And to this day, let me see how much my credit is so I don't be up here lying and then. So I really practiced that to the T, never missed a payment. And I really kept that in my head, like OH30, OH30. And I could say that my credit limit continuously increased. And I can show y'all my credit now. I don't know, does it have my private information on it?
Let's hope not.
So as you can see, my credit is 733. I mean, after I got out of college, that shit about to drop because I don't know who paying back these loans. But still, I was able to really apply what he taught me. And doing that, I was able to get this apartment and not like have a co-signer, because asking somebody to be a co-signer, I don't think sometimes we realize what we're really asking for. And like, that could be like pressure to somebody. And just because like your family, they feel obligated to do so, when deep down they don't want to put their credit online or be responsible if you don't do what you're obligated to do on the lease. So just being able to like do, especially I didn't want to put pressure on my family or anything. So just being able to do that by yourself, it also gives you the sense of being independent. And just like, it feels good, it just feels really good. Like I'm cheesing at this moment because it really good. But other than that, and also save. I save, like, for example, if I get paid like, I don't know, $100, like I try to like cut it in half and put like half of my savings and really budget myself to spend the other half. And not, I don't live beyond my means. I'm not really like a designer person. I'm not like materialistic. I really live within my means. And I feel like that's really what's taken down our generations with people like living for the Instagrams and the Facebook. I sound really old, but
No,
listen, some of y'all really living for the Instagram and Facebook and don't really have that saving that y'all could really bounce back on, or like probably take a couple like thousand and go on a little trip. Like, you know, I really love traveling. I really have a savings for my traveling. So
wow.
yeah.
Have you wondered how's Nioka doing all this stuff?
Oh my God, how I do not know how I'm doing all this stuff. Sometimes I'm like, sometimes I have to take like a step back and be like, whoa, how am I doing all this stuff? I feel like because my parents like lack the knowledge, because I'm also teaching them some of these stuff that I'm learning about, like financial literacy or whatever. But I feel like because, and they also encourage me to do all this stuff like traveling and stuff, because they had me when they were teenagers and now they're just like really involved with their work. So I don't know if they're living vicariously through me, but they really encourage me to do everything my heart desires. So
Oh, that's so sweet.
I have to keep in mind that credit tip, because honestly, like the on time one and the history one, like I got it. That 30%, sometimes it gets the best of me. Cause I know, like for me, you know what's crazy is like I went from living within my means and sometimes below my means, because it didn't take much to please me. Like growing up, like I didn't really need much. But then somewhere between freshman and sophomore year of college and junior year of college, my whole I guess I went through like a phase of like retail therapy where I was just like, you know,
God,
I worked hard. I'm like in my head talking to myself, like, you've been working since you were 13. Every summer you had a job. Like, you're always penny pinching and saving your money and never buying what you want. Like, go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy life. And I sure did, but it came with a cost, because it like all the discipline that I had of like saving and putting most of my money to save, like it started becoming like, I just need a little, like I'll put it back. And then I just started getting a little out of control with it. And so I had to sort of bring myself back to that whole, like, no, whatever money you make, put more than half of it aside, because you know, like down the line, if you get a little splurgy, you might have to take a little bit, and at least you'll still have like, you know, like I had to keep putting those things back into my head and curbing the urges to just like purchase. Like, you know, like there's times where I will go months, and I feel like when I'm working, it's the easiest for me to not spend money, because like I spend most of my day working, so it's not like I have time to shop online. So I feel like when I'm working, it's easier, but when I'm not, it's like I'm twiddling my thumbs, like, oh, I want to reward myself for some reason. Like, I don't know why, but the real reward comes with being able to afford those things that you weren't able to afford when you're younger. Like for me, I always tell myself, like, I want to buy a house. I don't want to rent for a long time. Like, I don't want to be a renter. I want to own a house. The only way I can do that is if I'm diligent about working now, saving my money, getting my credit to be good, all that stuff that you really put into place when you're in your young 20s, so that by the time you're approaching 30, you have a little bit of security. And then when you're in your 30s, you can low-key live life. You know what I mean? So like that's something that I have to keep reminding myself, like, Brianna, there's better life than you buying those shoes today is not gonna help you. Like, you don't need these shoes when you got 6 pairs of
shoes and they're still sitting like in the freaking box.
Literally, like you're not gonna have the time to even wear all those. So stop. Like, so yeah, I definitely think that's one for the books.
The thing about the credit card, the 30%, it could be tricky, because I go over that joint sometimes too. But the thing that I do is like I quickly pay it off before the statement comes around. So you just gotta be swift with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And also for y'all young viewers out there, I really recommend the Discover It credit card, because like after I think a year, if you have good grades, then they give you $20 back. So.
Wow. She said, I'm giving y'all all the tricks, okay? You can live like me. She really said that. She really did. She said, hey guys, y'all want to live lavish? Come this way. This was a nice conversation. It was a nice reunion for one. In my head this whole time I was thinking, like, we were talking about how our high school hasn't had a reunion. Like, we're like, oh, the 5-year reunion's coming up. But we're like, honestly, like, no one's gonna plan it. I don't feel like, I mean, unless they hear this and somebody feels the urge to, but we're talking about it and I'm like, this is low-key like a reunion. Like, this is like a little reunion, honestly, because we literally caught up on so much that I don't think would have happened if we didn't have you on this show. Like,
right.
I'd be seeing through your stories, like, oh, okay, Nioka got to like, she got this, she got that, she got this going on. But like the real, like, what's been happening, like, how's your views on school? How's your views on work? Like, what are opportunities like in New York? I would have not gotten any of that if it weren't for you coming on this podcast. So honestly, I thank you for really getting on us. And I thank you for coming on here because
I should have been on this podcast months ago.
She was like, where's my invitation? We're like, you know what? You got it. Here you go. So yeah, thank you for that, honestly.
The same thing. I'm just like sitting here feeling so warm because I feel like a lot of times like it's so easy to forget about like the people that you were in high school with, and like obviously you see them on social media, but like catching up with them and like having a conversation and it being fruitful, like that's rare unless you are like close friends. So I really appreciate Nioka coming on our show, and I really hope that like we can partner soon, like because I just see all the possibilities, and like you know, I'm a firm believer in like working with people that look like me, and so like I just see everything as an opportunity. Everything, I'm telling you. So, this is definitely gonna happen. But with that being said, this brings us to the close of our conversation with Nioka. And once again, we really want to thank her for coming on and giving another perspective of someone that's in our age group, going through the same yet different experiences as us. And so if you don't already, follow us on Instagram, follow us at She Thinks Pod, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel. And it's called She Thinks She Knows Podcast. And let us know what you think and give us some feedback on all our social channels. But until next time, bye everybody.
Thanks for having me.